542. 542. Your and Mark. Pure in heart, O God, help me to be. May I devote my life wholly to Thee. Watch out my wayward feet, guide me with counsel sweet. Pure in heart, help me to be. Pure in heart, O God, help me to be. Teach me to do Thy will most lovingly. Be thou my friend and guide. Let me with Thee abide. Pure in heart, help me to be. Pure in heart, O God, help me to be. That I Thy holy face one day may see, keeping from secret sin. Bring down my soul within. Pure in heart, help me to be. We'll have our opening prayer.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity we had this morning to gather together, sing the songs of praise, another portion of Thy word. Thank you for the church here in Brookville, and pray you will guide us and watch us and all that we do. Please be with us now as we go to our class. Help us to learn something from the class and we can carry in our hearts and into our lives and something to be better Christian. Please be with us that we remember and help them get a speedy recovery and return to a normal walk of life. With us now throughout this service and throughout life. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
We're adjourned to our class. Sure.
That's all you were saying. What do they mean by the secrets?
Probably, if I was going to guess, when we're alone, our thoughts also interact. Yeah. That's what I would guess. Yeah, we like to do things that aren't good for us when we're by ourselves. Seems like. And there's a taking some sin that you use your finger. Well, could be. Yeah, sometimes we do absolutely do things and don't realize it. So, I think that's a good point too. Well, we're going to lose this. Good morning. Good morning. It is good to see everyone. stand before you. As Pam pointed out, I have my glasses. So hopefully my brain will follow, because it was a little bit of a struggle last week, but I appreciate all the help getting through it. And I don't feel that I did what I was talking about a lot of justice, so we're going to kind of go over that a little bit more this morning. But good to have everybody, and just good to have Jay and Carol with us, and always good to see them. They're doing well, that's good. So we're talking about Christianity in action, and last week we talked about the lasting values. Talked about how our earthly possessions, as long as we deal with them correctly, are good or okay, and we can use our earthly possessions to serve God and to help the cause. But if we let them overtake us and we start putting more value on our earthly things, our house, our business, or whatever it is, our money, I guess, our riches in general, then we've got a problem. And God is certainly going to have a problem with that. But we know all the good that can come from what we have, our possessions, our sharing, having people into our house and stuff like that, or if we have money, giving to the church, giving to good causes out there, can do a lot of good. But when it comes down to it, we're not going to take them with us. And so we need to focus on the heavenly riches that we have. And the topic last week was Christianity has lasting values. They last for eternity. And we're going to be somewhere for eternity. And as we talked about Luke 16, that we know there's a good place and a not so good place, like a very terrible place. And so we need to focus on getting to heaven and being ready for that day. And we're talking about the day is coming. So we talked a little bit, just again, about our possessions. That God gives us the chance to have eternal possessions and love with Him. And talked about 2 Peter, and I just want to turn there real quick. 2 Peter 3, verse 11, therefore, since these things will be dissolved, what manner of persons ought you to be? Holy conduct, and godliness. And what manner are we to be? We're to be holy. We're to be holy in our conduct and godliness. We're going to talk about godliness at some point when we talk about the fruit of the Spirit and the graces in Peter, the Christian graces in 2 Peter. And then it says in the next verse, looking for and hastening the coming of the day of God, because of which the heavens will be dissolved, being on fire, and the elements will melt with fervent heat. Nevertheless, we, according to His promise, look for new heaven and new earth, in which righteousness dwells. So we are to be looking. We are to be ready for that day that's coming, and we are to be looking for it. We want that day to come. Especially it seems like as time goes on, our country and the world gets crazier. So we should be wanting that day to come. And it's going to end up that new earth, which righteousness dwells. We will be in a place there will be no more sin. Randy, do you have something there? You have a thought?
Oh, I'm always thinking.
Okay.
No, you're on track, and that doesn't mean, new heavens and a new earth, doesn't mean it's gonna be the same kind of earth we live on now, because it's gonna be, it's a spiritual realm. And so it's a new abode, like, for example, this earth that we're on right now is wholly designed for physical beings like us. And so it's not a place for spiritual beings. And so that new realm is going to be a spiritual realm, but it's going to be suitable for spiritual beings, 100%.
Yeah, and then they kind of, when you think about certain physical beings, and we start thinking about how everything is perfect. And you're talking to somebody. I was talking to Troy last week. He's doing well. For his heart operation, but started explaining a bunch of stuff in his heart. And how can it be without a supreme being? How can all this work together? And how can the earth work the way it does and position just right? There's just so much. Getting off track there. Then we touch base on the foolish man, the rich foolish man that got all this super crop, got a super crop per year, and he decided to what? He wanted to tear down his barns and build new ones. And I just, why was it futile for the foolish man to build greater barns? Verse, yeah, that night. Yeah, verse 20. But what could have changed that whole scenario? God wills, and what maybe how he purposed it. I'm going to purpose it to my neighbor needs something. I'll have it. I have it stored up to take care of it. And it just, there's so many things maybe that he could have went about differently in that scenario.
Maybe my neighbor will pass up.
What are you talking about? We don't do this. Yeah, I don't know. But, for me in this verse, it's just that he could have done so many good things. Follow us through with it. Would have been good in God's grace, Randy.
Yeah, he wasn't rich toward God was the main problem. He bestowed all of his goods upon himself. He was 100% focused inward. And what was going on around him just was not his concern.
But he'd say he was going to eat, drink, and be merry, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand why we tear down his old barn. That's the parable. I'm always about not destroying stuff. I get a little too cheap to do that. I think we're They didn't give God any credit, that's right, I didn't think of that, but yeah.
All good.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, pride, sounds like he's very prideful. What happens?
Doing that more. Don't have.
And I actually, a little bit, we're working on the house at home, and, we have a lift man lift there. Really nice. And I'm starting to like clean stuff and putting a roof on and stuff, and, I said to Karen about maybe, you know, have somebody else take over. Like, maybe I didn't even mention it, I mentioned it myself. Talk to myself a lot. I'm like, no, that is exactly what we're talking about. I mean, set aside time. Doesn't matter how busy we are. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what's going on. We need to set time aside for God, and we need to not make excuses. I'm pretty good at that. Make excuses. So that's just kind of a check with me yesterday. And there is a time, I think, another month or so, I think somebody else needs to be up here just for a change. It can't be because I'm too busy. You know, we hear that a lot. I don't have time. Well, if you don't have time, we all have the same amount of time. We talked about it. And we go back to Tom had an awesome lesson on time, maybe more than once. We all have the same amount of time. So it's up to us to figure out how to use it wisely and use it towards the glory of God as much as we can. And that doesn't mean our work can't be using it towards God too. Our work can be there too, but it can't be all work and play. It's gotta, you know, we gotta be focused on God and what we need to do to serve Him and serve Him in the right frame of mind. So, anything else about the foolish man? If nothing else, then we talked about Matthew 16 and then what shall profit a man if he gains the whole world and he loses his own soul. And just want to read the song that we sing because it is tells it like it is. Not all of earth's gold and silver can make a sinner whole. But what shall it profit thee, O man, if thou should lose thy soul? The heaping up of riches, to many seem like gold, but in the eager rush for wealth, forgotten is the soul. The solemn question answer is worldly gain thy gold, and fleeting riches be compared to an immortal soul. What shall it profit a man? What shall it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? Start thinking about that part. It really sets in what we need to be doing. And again, we can work and we can have riches. It's just how we use them and how we serve God with them. Okay. Now, I don't think it went over most of that last week somewhat, but I think this is where I quit again. Take that second, make a little check mark or a star. So I think this is where we started or left off. But we'll talk about the practical values of Christianity, and the value of God's life is demonstrated by what we give up to walk with God in righteousness. So it's what we give up to walk with God in righteousness. And there's two individuals, two people in the Bible that I'd like to look at. The first one is Moses, and with reading anything, what did Moses give up? What did Moses give up? Where could he have been? Favorite court. And he could have been possibly on the throne. I mean, is that correct? Could he have been the leader? So he gave that all up, and what would that came with? That's the right way to ask it. Right English. What would have he gained with all that? Power, riches, all things that probably were not going to lead him to God. And instead he did. He chose to be a leader of the people.
I was thinking in the end, it would just been a tomb that people would be digging into nowadays. That would be it. That would be it, just a tomb.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. But instead, we know the great leader he turned out to be, even though he kind of tried to get out of it.
And we don't even know where he was buried.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great leader
But,
indeed, yeah.
He's in God's Word, and we know a lot about him, and I don't remember as much as I should, but again, this helped me this morning. I did a little bit of research on it. So, but yeah, the fact that he gave up a lot. He did not want to be, let's read Hebrews 11, 24 through 16. Hebrews 11, 24 to 26. By faith, Moses, when he became of age, refused to be called son of the Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer afflictions with the people of God rather than the passing pleasures of sin, esteeming the reproach of Christ greater riches than the treasures of Egypt, where he looked to the reward. We look to the reward, and that reward is in heaven and with God. Any other thoughts on Moses? The other one would be Paul. And remember what chapter it was in, talked about Paul and the importance of his conversion.
Be Philippians chapter 3.
Yeah, Philippians 3. Thank you. I did not mark that. 3, 5, and 6. Thank you,
You're welcome.
Randy. Yeah, Philippians 3, 5, and 6. Circumcised the 8th day of the stock of Israel, of the tribe of Benjamin, a Hebrew of Hebrews, concerning the law, a Pharisee. Concerning zeal, persecuting the church, concerning righteousness, which is in the law, blameless. But what things were gained to me, these I have counted loss for Christ. What things were gained to me, these I have counted loss for Christ. So, what did Paul give up? Where was Paul as far as in the Jewish realm? Where was he at in the food chain, I guess, or however you want to call it? Okay.
Well, so, we can have it. When they're talking stuff, it's got a lot. Brought up, someone brought up the grooming for, like you say, pretty high seat somewhere in that, maybe changing it. I was looking here, Solomon Road, Ecclesiastes, we know, Solomon was very well planned, but David was well, so Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 11 says, then I looked at all the works that my hands have done, and on the labor which I have toiled, and indeed all was vanity, and grasping for the wind, there was no profit under the sun. Why does Solomon say that? What was evidently finally come to him that everything that he was striving to do.
Good. Why did God choose Paul? Why did God choose Paul? He wasn't, it's not like he picked me, the apostle, or others. I would go to Paul. That's good vessel.
Third person.
Yeah. That's, I have one of the commentaries from downstairs, John Coughlin, I think. But he said, I mean, him declaring the gospel was like huge. It's like, what I did, it rocked the Jews, is what I put down as a note. It's totally like, what is going on? And probably at first they might have thought he was a little bad happened to him, I mean, either way it was turned, but just said that he said it was an incredible importance, to spread the gospel just because of his
And also a Roman citizen.
so
Hold on.
in society. Most people today, all out there. Never thought of that, but the professional athletes, the good ones, they're so in tune and so zealous for what they're doing. And it's not, folks are not like me, I mean, play basketball, but I never worked at it. And then, so that's what they are. They are, you know, the Michael Jordans of the world, have a different, you know, applied by a different, motivation. But again, if he would have turned that into serving Christ, can you imagine, yeah, what that would been. So, that's a good point, very good point. Mark?
I was gonna say, well, when under Steve, when Steve got stoned in the dirt, well, didn't Paul was one of the ones that stoned him, and then, didn't Steve say, kill him or something, or?
Yeah. Steve, yeah. Randy?
I was just thinking in Acts 23 verse 1, that's where Paul was defending himself before the mob in Jerusalem after the false accusations, that he said that he'd done everything in good conscience. And then when they sent him on up to Felix, it was in Acts 24 verse 16, that he said that he strived to do what he did, having a good conscience before God and men. And so the point of that being, when he was a Pharisee persecuting the church, he really believed he was doing what was right. But when he was shown he was wrong, and he became persuaded that Jesus was right, he continued zealously doing what he now knew to be right. And Jesus knew that about Paul. You know, he knew that once he got it fixed in his head, that he was going to be a force that had to be dealt with in the first century church. And he was absolutely right. Paul was a great man, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and it's like Mark said, well, how old was he when he was holding the coach for them to stone Stephen? I mean, was he even 10 yet?
More than that, probably.
Oh.
Okay.
So, I mean, he was involved from the get-go. It's just wired differently, I guess, is one way to put it. Well, that's exactly right.
Who was it in church one time, here was Alan or somebody said, I have to think about this every time, just said, when was the last time you changed your mind?
I don't remember that, but
And what made you do it? You know, and I think that's what we deal with, is when's the last time you changed your, when's the last time I changed my mind, you know, and you have to think about something, you know, no matter what it is. You know,
yeah, it's true.
So you get people who have their mind made up about certain things in the Bible. They're hard to get to change your mind. Hard to get us to change
That's
your
what they
mind.
want, yeah.
It's just.
I get in trouble a lot for that, by the way. So, yeah, my mind changes. But, I can tell you right, unless somebody whacks me over the head, I'm not going to change my mind on what the Bible said.
Also, you have to, for Paul, I mean, he is such a good example. He had to be humble and face the Jews and say, you know what, I was wrong. This is the way, you know, it is now. And a lot of people are not willing to do that either. They're not willing to, okay, yeah, in the back of my head, I know you're right, but I'm not willing to change my mind because be humble to get baptized, or, you know, whatever the case is, they're not going to take away their pride for what they believe in and did. And Paul had to do that. He had to do that in a big way, and was not, or, you know, some people are willing to do that.
Doesn't tell us anything about any excuses he made or anything like that. He didn't say, no, my mom did this, my, you know, like, you know, whatever.
That's all I got. I argued my way here.
Well, I always remember that guy. She said you argued your way into the church. And I have a lot of respect for that. I really do, because it, you know, I don't know if it wouldn't have been, I don't know, I'm absolutely sure I wouldn't be here if it wouldn't be for Karen or family. So I know that for a fact. And I tell like George, Bill and them that have come out of something else. But, and I've told people about you about that too. So, that's good stuff. Okay, we're about out of time. Is there anything else? As far as Paul, I mean, we just know that, yeah, I don't know that there's never been a more zealous person for God than the Apostle Paul, and he lived it his whole life. So,
Okay. And so when you look too, I just think you're exactly right. But when I look at Paul's life too, he was also a very meek and humble person. And so those two things, that doesn't necessarily cancel out being a powerful force for good. It enhances it. And that what brought to my mind was what Karen was saying. You know, about us not wanting. One of the hardest things for us to do is to say I was wrong. What do I do to fix it? And it takes humility to do that. But humility and meekness does not mean that you're not strong and you can't do a good service to the Lord and the church.
for sure. Well, Christ himself was meek and lowly, and, but he got the point across. He had to be stirred a time or two, but that he was still very humble and so. Anything else? Next week, finally, we're going to get to talk a little bit about faithfulness, faith. Thank you. That's terrible. I'll remember